Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, real_G Warner, and it is Friday, January 27th, and we're getting into an almost full weekend slate of soccer, European soccer. That is, unfortunately, we are going to do the FA Cup. Fortunately, unfortunately, it's not the same as a regular English Premier League slate. We'll start there. We'll go through La Liga, Serie A, the Bundesliga, and also Ligue 1. Before this podcast is done, I will put a best bet up for each of the countries that we're going through. And then hopefully, I'll give it an ultimate best bet end of show. Thanks to all of you for coming in. Please hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review if you're on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. All lines quoted in this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag. It's my favorite place to place a bet. Really at any time. You get to save money on juice, pretty important. And especially if you're into this game and ultimately lifestyle is probably what you could call it. Reduced juice is offered on almost every game you want to bet right up until game time. Follow the link found in the podcast description below to fund your account. Use the promo code GW50 to receive a 50% match bonus up to $1,000. So now that you have all this extra money to play with, let's go turn that into even more cash. And we'll start in the FA Cup. There's going to be a lot of matches I skip here, but it is what it is. We'll start with Manchester City hosting Arsenal in a really nice preview of what should be the title chase in the Premier League. Manchester United probably have something to say in that as well. But for now, we'll start with these two, as these are, I think, the favorite and second favorite. Currently, Man City, a 3/4 goal favorite at home. Over under is 2 3/4. And there are going to be a lot of matches coming up between these teams. Not sure that you can really take what Pep Guardiola has been saying about, he doesn't care about the Premier League, blah, blah, blah. He certainly questioned the passion in his team. And ultimately, I feel like the scoreline against Wolves was a little bit not representative of how the match went, maybe is a good way to put it. But it is what it is, I guess. As Ronald Koeman used to say, as a Barcelona manager. And it's hard for me not to look at Arsenal here. This is a Friday match, so this is coming up in a few hours. And Arsenal have looked like the best team in the Premier League. Certainly, a lot of that's come from how easy their schedule was, especially in the first half of the year pre-World Cup. But nothing that they've really done has changed that. They got the big win late against Manchester United, which is huge. I'm a buyer of Arsenal at this point. I feel like they don't have, Gabriel Jesus' injury seemed to be a big concern, but Eddie Nketiah has really filled in admirably as a kind of backup striker whenever he's been able to play. And the rest of that Arsenal team is awesome. They have so much in the midfield. They have so much youth, and this is going to be a juggernaut for a long time, it seems. Whereas on the other side, Manchester City just don't really seem to be the same team they were in the past. They're still like in the marketplace, like they are this dominant feature. They've been really good in Champions League, but that's also different competition than the Premier League and what looks like this FA Cup. There is, I guess, some difference in an FA Cup match where you'll see teams towards the end of the match go for it, which might make that 1-goal loss more likely to be a 2-goal loss for Arsenal, which would be difficult because you'd lose that half push on that 3/4 of a goal that I'm seeing right now currently. But I don't know that necessarily that is a terrible thing necessarily, because if I could say necessarily more in a sentence, I would. I don't know that Man City win this match in regulation. And what you usually see a lot of times in the end of matches are teams going for it to win 3 points in league play. In cup matches, you don't see that because they know that they have penalties or they have extra time. And I feel like that's an okay way to win or lose for a lot of these teams. So what you really don't see is that 94th minute goal as often in cup matches. Certainly there are less cup matches, and who knows, maybe my experience has been different than most. But I just think that's a really nice extra change where going to extra time, you win your full bet here. Even with a late goal, you'll only lose half of it. But Arsenal, I think, are a really good challenger for Man City. I think that this is a matchup where Arsenal are not going to go on the road and really bow down to a Man City side that hasn't really been that good for a couple months now, it seems. The World Cup being in there kind of throws things off a little bit time-wise. But Kevin De Bruyne with a great pass to Haaland, but that has been a while since it happened. Riyad Mahrez seems like the best player for Man City right now, and that's I mean, he's been really hot, and that's going to be someone that Arsenal's young defense needs to cope with. But I mean, Saliba has been really good, and honestly has been good for years, and should have been in that Arsenal team, I think, from a long time ago. Plus, Gabriel has been doing a lot better job of not taking red cards, which is important. And you also got that thing where Pep's old assistant, Mikel Arteta, knows everything the guy wants to do, will do, all that sort of stuff. And Pep has been very, very loud, adamant in the past, even when Arsenal were going through struggles, that Mikel Arteta is a great manager. And I think he's even alluded that was a lot of the brains behind Pep Guardiola's success at Man City. So taking a 3-quarter goal underdog on Arsenal, I mean, there are way worse bets you can make in this world. I don't know that I necessarily feel anything towards the over-under in this one. I think there could be goals, which does unfortunately make the impact of a 3-quarter goal underdog on the road less impactful. But I like Arsenal getting that 3 quarters. Moving to Saturday, I'm just going to skip over matches that I don't know anything about, which there are a lot of them off the top. We'll get down to what I guess is a little bit interesting. I don't have much of a clue into Blackpool, but seeing Southampton a 1.25 goal favorite definitely makes me want to go against them in any way, shape, or form, especially after they played an FA Cup, or excuse me, a Carabao EFL Cup midweek and took a loss, and are probably less interested in a round 4 of the FA Cup than they are in a semifinal of a competition I don't think they've ever won. Preston then hosts Tottenham, getting 1.5 goals at home from a Tottenham team that are going to sit back and play defense. Unfortunately, there are Premier League teams that get prices like this against Tottenham. Maybe not recently because Tottenham have been playing so poorly, but I wish I knew a little bit more about Preston. Might be doing a little bit more research on them in the coming days, at least until Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Manchester United, a big favorite to Reading. I guess that shouldn't be a surprise. And then we'll see if there are any more FA Cups. So moving to Sunday, Brighton, Liverpool. Just saw this match a couple weekends ago, I think, in Brighton, same exact location, everything. Brighton was a 1/4 goal underdog there. Here they are, pick 'em after wiping the floor with Liverpool. I do feel like there will be a reaction from Liverpool here, and they likely play a lot better than they did in that one, but they have to, because I'm not sure that Liverpool could have played a worse match. Over-under is 3, and I think it speaks to the lack of defense that Liverpool have in their team right now. Virgil van Dijk, I'm not sure his status at the moment, but he's been banged up. They've been bad. He's not there to mop up for really, really poor other defending. Trent Alexander-Arnold's not playing that much because they just can't handle him and his lack of defense playing right back, it seems. Brighton, I still don't believe in necessarily, but it's hard to argue with the results. And Roberto De Zerbi doesn't seem like he's gone psycho Sassuolo mode yet. Who knows when that's happening? I think they're going to not mess with the engine that's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I hope that Liverpool gets some more money, because I think this is it's when teams play, I mean, you see this in college basketball a lot, and baseball all the time, the same starting pitchers. It's hard to expect the same result, but when there is a dominant performance and a dominant showing, and we're going back to the same place, it's not a switch of home field or home pitch or home venue. I think there's some value on Brighton here at Pick'em. I don't know that you could make them necessarily a favorite, considering they were just a 1/4 goal underdog just a couple of weeks ago to the same team. And obviously in cup play, you want to make sure that the lineups are acceptable, but pretty interested in Brighton there. And that will probably close up my interest in anything in the FA Cup, because it's still a lot of smaller clubs that I really can't say I know much about to make them a best bet of any sort. So I'll make my best bet from England, Arsenal plus 3/4 goal today, in what should be a great one against Manchester City. Now we'll move to La Liga. We had a bunch of Copa del Rey midweek, which I'm not fully caught up on. I swear the midweek matches are impossible, especially when you spend a weekend in Vegas and watch zero soccer. But we'll start on Friday with Almeria hosting Espanyol. Currently Almeria a 1/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Espanyol on the road, and the over-under is 2.25. Almeria, I did watch their match against Valencia, coming back from behind twice to draw, equalize twice, draw at the end 2-2. It was wild. I mean, Almeria, I think, got their first penalty of the season, and it looked like it because Ramazani hit the outside of the post and looked really terrible in doing so after the two players that seemed to be fighting over who would take it. Clearly the wrong one got the nod. And now Almeria are a favorite. Small crowd, small venue. And Espanyol have been playing really well lately. Hard to argue with Jose Lu's performance this entire season as a striker, but I feel like I love the Espanyol manager. He was so good at Granada a few seasons ago and really got out of there before things were going to hell. And that's kind of what happens to teams that are built on loan deals and then get to the Europa League and then end up crashing out of La Liga in a short time span. But Diego Gonzalez, I think is his name, but don't quote me on that. It's really hard for me because there's so many of the same names in Spain. But anyway, I probably should look that up, give him some credit. But anyway, I really like Espanyol. I think that they are Diego Martinez. There we go. Not Gonzalez. My bad. Sorry, Diego. I know you're listening. But Espanyol, they can go into this match and get a draw here. You win half a bet. I think they can go and win. They did a lot to build their team, I think, more so than Almeria recently promoted side, who have kind of tried to kind of stay who they are and be the best they could. And Almeria, they want to play defense and use their wings, the speed in their wings. I don't know necessarily that that's a great way to attack Espanyol. I think Espanyol is a more chiseled defense. And I feel like, Alvaro, their keeper, has been playing a lot better this year. So I thought someone was like an auto fade in the past, but has been in the league before, did a loan deal, I think, to Brentford, and finally is starting and is playing a lot, has won that job. And it almost seems like he deserves it. He's been a lot more solid at the back. So I guess I lean to under 2.25 as well, because I don't know where goals necessarily come from in this one. That might even be a little bit better, stronger of a lean than the Espanyol +1/4, because you win a little bit more on a 1-1 draw, and based on the juices and such, plus a goalless draw, you definitely win more. I don't really see a lot of goals from either of these teams, but I do think that they're more likely to come from Espanyol despite being on the road. Moving to Saturday, Cadiz hosting Mallorca. Cadiz a pick'em, actually straight up juices even -110 each way at BetOnline. Cadiz with some really bad fortune lately, and that's what happens to teams that start looking like they're in trouble and might go down. Over under is 1 3/4 in this one. We keep getting totals in Spain below 2, which shows really the either lack of offense, which I think is more so than good defense, plus a change in the refereeing room, and they're trying not to give as many penalties, though they're still giving some, especially the big clubs late in matches. Unfortunately for me, because I'm usually betting against them. But Mallorca are a great defense. They're going to make it really hard in Cadiz to score. I really like the under here, but I think I want a 2 to feel good enough to bet it. There is a little more juice to the over right now, but I don't think it'll hit 2 by the time this kicks off. If it does, it'll be very juiced, which could be worth it. But there's a lot of mistakes that happen that see goals in games you wouldn't expect. Unfortunately, for such a low total, it's hard to see going under. However, I'm also very interested in Mallorca if they move to an underdog. I feel like Cadiz have been playing better, but they're still Cadiz, and they don't have enough offense. Alvaro Negredo is getting really old, and he seems to be their closer to get a goal when they really need one, and doesn't seem to get one. Lean to Mallorca, lean to under, but might not really get either of those, unfortunately. Girona then hosts Barcelona. Currently, Girona a 1-goal underdog. Over under is 2 3/4. And this is a Catalan derby, I believe, both in Catalonia. Barcelona with a good win midweek against Real Sociedad, but they also played an entire half with an extra man. Had a goalkeeping mistake-ish from Alex Ramiro that scored a goal that won the match. And Sorloth missed a sitter, empty net right in front of it. Skied the ball over the net. Incredible. Also a bad turnover late by Ter Stegen. Should have been punished and was not, twice on 2 different attempts from Real Sociedad. And then they even had another chance. And this is all with 10 men. I'm not really a believer in Barcelona's defense quite at all. I feel like it's probably a good time to sell them off a clean sheet, which to me didn't feel deserved. But I did have Real Sociedad bet in that one. Fortunately, it pushed and did not look good when they're down a man for an entire half. But honestly, I thought I wouldn't be shocked if Real Sociedad had a higher XG in that match. As for this one, Girona are going to have to defend like crazy, and they can do that. And they've been good at home. I'm a little nervous because I was expecting this number to be bigger, but it is nice to have a full goal of insurance on a home team. I don't know that I want to play unders with Barcelona involved because they just don't defend and they are such a good offense, which makes matters even way worse. So I think it's Girona or nothing for me. I don't know that there's enough here. It's a very juiced +1 at the moment. If it ticks below 1, I think that's the market telling you to bet Girona. I just don't know if I have the cojones or los huevos to do it, because ultimately, Girona, I think you need the full goal of insurance. So if you really like that side, maybe you grab that now. I don't know if I like it enough. Sevilla then hosts Elche, coming off a Copa del Rey match at Osasuna midweek. Elche still haven't won in the league yet. Probably could call them adrift right now in the relegation zone, far bottom of the table, but and they're their 5th or 6th manager of the season. Things have been getting better. They're a 1-goal underdog. The over-under is 2.25. They're going to La Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, which had a huge showing of disrespect for management, the board, all that sort of stuff before a late win against Cadiz last weekend, which was really fortunate with a late penalty in the 89th minute. I don't know where goals come from Elche. I know that they have a bad defense that does make big mistakes, but I don't know that Sevilla have done enough to really have any faith in them to score more than a goal. And even a goal at that seems really tough for them. And I think their defense is not going to get really in as much trouble against Elche, because Elche just haven't really done anything offensively besides with this new Sevilla loanee, which I don't know if he'll be eligible, because the fear clauses in England don't seem to really take in other leagues mainly. And I guess if you're loaning a guy out, you should let him play against you, though I certainly understand if you're kind of paying his wages, you probably shouldn't. But I think under 2.25 looks really good in this one, because I don't think Elche score, and I don't think that Sevilla can get even 2 goals themselves. I mean, they might be able to get there, but that might be the maximum. So I'm pretty interested in under there. I also like that +1 on Elche. It's just hard on the road to trust them, the big mistakes they make, and there's a little more safety in that 2.25 if they don't score. Getafe then hosts Real Betis nightcap on Saturday. Getafe, I pick them with all the juice on Betis on the road, and more so getting odds on pick them right now in Getafe. So that's likely moving to a quarter. Over under is 1 3/4, which is very, very low for a Real Betis match. But Getafe have been playing, I think, under 2, or seeing totals under 2 for a long time now, maybe since the restart. That's because Getafe's offense has dried up completely. It's never been very good. They're a team known for physicality and trying to grind out results, which is really 1 point at a time, it feels. There's some pressure on Quique Sanchez Flores, who basically rescued them from death last season and then got them pretty comfortably to mid-table, or at least to safety. The seat is getting hot, muy caliente, muy picante, pero but I don't really understand necessarily what Getafe think they are. They didn't do anything really to build the team. They have a lot of okay players that don't score goals because it's hard at this type of level. It doesn't really make sense to me, but that's not what I'm here to debate. And ultimately, Real Betis are the better club, bigger club, and they didn't have Copa del Rey midweek because they lost at home despite being up a man against Osasuna last time. And so they should be pretty well rested here. But Betis are nothing for me. I guess I lean to under, but I think Betis can score here, and I don't know that Getafe can. And once that first goal goes in, there's certainly no safety in a over-under of 1 3/4. So I'm going to need to at least get a 2 to feel like under's worth looking at, and I don't even know if I will at that point. Real Valladolid then hosts Valencia on Sunday. Sunday early match. Valladolid, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over-under is 2.25, and it's really hard to handicap this one. Or maybe it's not that hard. Valladolid, offense has done nothing for a long time. Defense makes really bad mistakes in the 88th minute, I think, because they're too tired. Whereas Valencia are really young, have no idea how to defend. And I mean, just seeing from that Almeria match where they gave up 2 goals and 2 leads, really off of just puzzling defending. You even heard it from Justin Kluivert after the match talking about it. I don't know how well he speaks Spanish, but doing his best to say, it wasn't a good match because we drew. If we won, it'd be fine. I don't really agree with that, because Valencia just don't really have good defenders. They tried a Turk, I believe, who made a really bad mistake for a goal. And I don't really know what they're doing with center back, not playing Diakabi because he's been making really bad mistakes. He gets benched, but then the guy after him makes a big mistake. I imagine Diakabi comes back in. Though I think they also played Copa del Rey midweek. Haven't watched that one yet because God, there's so many matches to watch. But ultimately, hard to look at an under involving Valencia. Also hard to back Valladolid as an underdog at home because they make really dumb, stupid, big mistakes. And Valencia do have goal scoring talent, and they have talent all over the pitch. It's maybe not it's young and it's certainly not polished, but they're better. I don't know. I think I need more on Valladolid. I doubt I get that. And like half a goal underdog at home might be the minimum I'm interested in. Doesn't look like it'll get there based on the juice currently. And I don't think I can play an under with Valencia's defense. And honestly, Valladolid making big mistakes also. Osasuna then hosts Atletico Madrid, coming off both with Copa del Rey midweek. Osasuna, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice on Atleti, actually. So this might climb to a half. Over-under is 2.25, very juiced to the under. And that makes sense because Osasuna's defense is their calling card. Their offense has been really quiet. And Atleti, I mean, Griezmann's been playing really well since the World Cup. But they're kind of in a transitional period. I think they're better, Atleti are, when they focus on defense and then find their goals and counterattacks. They've been trying to do it differently. And I hope that Diego Simeone sticks around because I think that he's someone I like to bet against because he puts his team in bad positions. But I also like to bet on them in Europe when they face really good teams or just in Spain in general. I think they're transitioning back to that more defensive mindset. Moving on, Joao Felix, I think wasn't great for them offensively and really wasn't good for how the team was working, but it also wasn't working. So maybe that wasn't so bad. I'm more and more interested as Osasuna climb to half of a goal, as you suggest. I don't know that it'll get there, but it might. I also like the under 2.25. I do worry that there's always big red card risks in any match that has Atletico Madrid playing. But at this point, I think that's the way I'd lean strongest. Though Osasuna getting a quarter at home certainly could get a home draw. And when you half a bet, I'd be much more interested in that half, though, there. Next, we'll go Celta de Vigo hosting Athletic Club. Currently, Celta a pick'em with most of the juice on Athletic Club. Over-under is 2. Again, really low totals, but that's because Athletic Club can't really score. Most of their problems are scoring at home, and it's good to go under with them at home or just fade them, especially if they're playing an inferior side, because they tend to hang around. Celta de Vigo, on the other hand, they are what previously was a really great offense, but Brais Mendes went to Real Sociedad. Iago Aspas is 36 years old or something like that now. And they are getting a little bit more out of Strand Larsen, their striker, if I'm not butchering his name, and some sort of Dane. And that's needed because they weren't getting enough from him. They're in relegation conversation right now, and that's a big concern for a team that should be a lot better than that, but ultimately kind of speaks to what they've done, holding out players, selling Brais Mendes, holding out players because they weren't going to sign in long-term deals, all that sort of stuff. And they're in trouble because Athletic Club, they had Real Madrid last week. I think they played Copa del Rey midweek as well. So there's a lot of, they're great at the cup stuff, and that certainly might zap some important players. They also might have rotated for Real Madrid, which is a crazy decision, but using a center back pairing they'd never used before, one that was making a debut against Real Madrid, was okay. Only allowed one, if I remember correctly, and it was a wonder goal, a golazo from Karim Benzema, but that's, I guess, what you should be expecting when you play Real Madrid. I like under 2 in this one more than anything, I think, because it's just Athletic Club wastes so many chances. It's so hard for the Iñaki or just the Williams brothers in general to score. And Celta, I think they're going to have trouble with an Athletic Club defense, which are going to foul them when they're on breaks. And I don't know if they even get a lot of breaks. It's going to really require Iago Aspas to do something magical, a set piece, which is seemingly unlikely, or some sort of crazy handball or weird penalty that I think will require Celta de Vigo to score. I think the crowd will be in there, and that'll help the defense, which is not great. But trusting Athletic Club to score is not something I'm looking to do. So lean to under 2, I think, most strongly in that one. Next, we'll go the nightcap on Sunday. Another huge match for Real Sociedad as Real Madrid host Real Sociedad here. Over-under is 3/4 of a goal. Real Sociedad had what a gigantic week with Barcelona on the road at the Camp Nou, now going to La Bernabeu, and on the east side, not as far east as the Wanda, but the east side of Madrid. And It's pretty wild. They're gonna have to go in there, and I don't know about the status of Bryce Mendes. I don't know if his red card offense also suspends him for La Liga play, especially because they're out of the cup. I imagine it does, but we'll see with that one. He's an important piece for scoring goals for Sociedad. Ultimately, Real Sociedad's defense has been what's made me want to back them. I think at +1, I'll play them just like I did against Barcelona this week. Though it's going to be tough. Though Real Madrid had a derby with Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey this week. So, I mean, both are probably running on fumes. Madrid had an extra match because they played in Saudi Arabia. So, Real Madrid are used to it, but Sociedad kind of are too now. They play European soccer all the time. I trust Emmanuel Alguacil, their manager. They're getting healthier. Carlos Fernandez playing a little bit at the end of the match was a good sign against Barcelona. But this is a big match for them. They took Sorloth off a little early. It might have cost them an extra time berth. But ultimately, I still love the Sociedad defense. I think it doesn't have a lot of big names in it, or it seemed like seemingly the same players that weren't so great in the last few seasons. But I think that they can cause Real Madrid a lot of problems offensively. And I think that coming off a loss to Barcelona, that's a really good position to be in to really be solid defensively. But until I get +1, I don't think I can fade Real Madrid at home. So, because that is honestly looking like half a bet loss, and I don't really want to take any losses at this point. And over-unders 2.5. I don't really see a lot of goals here. So that's another lean, I guess. It might be the one I'd play if I don't get +1 on Real Sociedad, is to take that under 2.5, because could see a 1-0 victory for Real Madrid. I wouldn't be shocked by that. I think that'd be a good showing for both teams, and might be one of those things that you even see a late equalizer, a 1-1 draw, and you win that under, and you probably would win the Sociedad bet as well if you took that. But I'm not sure I want to go double up against Real Madrid at home when Sociedad does have a day less, or a day extra, excuse me, of rest, which is huge. But want to see where this one goes. Lineups, of course, because you never know after a cup match who's got a ding, a knock, and who isn't playing. Moving to Monday, Villarreal hosting Rayo Vallecano. Currently, Villarreal a 3/4 goal favorite. Over/unders 2.5. And Villarreal, got a miracle win with 2 penalties in extra time, and needed both of them to actually get the win against Girona. You could argue that they were deserved penalties, but they were, very fortunate, especially the second one, well after the amount of stoppage time had been played. But anyway, I'll take it because I do have Villarreal to finish in a Champions League position. Didn't expect them to lose their manager mid-year, but I guess I'm glad they're at least in the running. It's not looking great at the moment, but whatever. Anyway, Rayo Vallecano on the road, they're going to counterattack you, and that's going to be a really good thing. They're going to set in, defend, and make it really hard on Villarreal to score, which makes me like Rayo Vallecano, that 3/4 goal right now. I much prefer 1, but I don't know if we'll get it. But I think that Rayo under 2.5 also looks pretty good, because they're going to set up defensively. Villarreal have not been scoring very well. And I don't know that necessarily that there are 3 goals in this match. Certainly Rayo on a counterattack is very scary. And Villarreal are dealing with a lot of injuries in their back line. But it's just hard to see in this league right now a lot of goals being scored, unfortunately. And honestly, that's good for under, for sure, because if you're both feeling the same way, like, under for both the teams that are involved. There are some low numbers out here, but I also think that that's not a terrible spot to be in. I think for my best bet, I'm going to go with the Elche under 2.25, Elche at Sevilla. I just feel like that one, there's so many questions about, like I just said, both those teams and how they score goals. Certainly really scared about doing anything with Enzo Rocco, center back for Elche. It just seems to be someone they have to play because everyone else is so bad. Because if he's playing as much as he is, like he has for the past few seasons, they somehow have stayed in the league. They really don't have other options at this point. Now moving to Serie A, we do have 2 matches today in Italy. We have one, and actually, it looks like an hour, so I need to get ready for that one. And that is Bologna hosting Spezia. Currently, Bologna a 0.5 goal favorite. Over/under is 2.25. And I really like both Spezia and the under here. Bologna can't really be relied upon to score goals. The spread requires a victory, and I don't know. Spezia had a tough one last time out against Roma at home, but it felt like they were in it and had some really big mistakes. And unfortunately, those things you can't survive, and it honestly killed their streak of unbeaten streak, but they now get to go on the road. And unfortunately, this is two bad performances in a row after getting blasted by Atalanta in the cup. So maybe they've drifted back into old ways, but I think Luca Gotti is a good manager. He's, I mean, taking this team to heights where honestly I don't think anyone expected them to be, especially from a very offensive attacking side to now having one that defends fairly well. And I just don't think Bologna score enough, really, and it's a really tough spot for them to be in as a favorite. So lean to Spezia, getting that half of a goal, but also to the under 2.25. Nightcap today is Lecce hosting Salernitana. Currently, Lecce a 3/4 goal favorite now, which just keeps climbing. Over unders 2.25, and Salernitana has not looked very good, to put it as bluntly as you can. Lecce, I don't know, as a big favorite. I mean, they've been very competitive in the league this year, but they're newly promoted, the winners of Serie B. But their goal scoring is not great. It seems like they defensively don't do incredible things either. Coming off a loss to Verona, it was not impressive. But they are playing a Salernitana team that's kind of grasping for straws. I feel like if you're a value player, I think Salernitana are getting too much here. I don't know that necessarily I trust them enough, but you only lose half a bet if they lose by a single goal. And I don't know that I trust Lecce to win matches at this point. I expect them to play competitively and make it hard for the big clubs, but I just don't know that necessarily in a favorite role. They're not used to that, and that's kind of weird. Moving to Saturday, Empoli hosts Torino. Currently, Empoli a 1/4 goal underdog. Juice is all over the Empoli side, and the over-under is 2.25. Torino have been playing really well. Credit to Ivan Juric, I believe. And I don't know, keeping all these names straight is really hard. But Empoli with a huge win also at Inter. Luckily, they're playing against 10 men. I guess luckily, I don't know, maybe earn a red card on the opponent. I'm not sure. But coming off that win, it's going to be tough for them. They're riding high, I'm sure. But that's also, they did what they did. And now they're at home as an underdog to a team in Torino that aren't really someone you trust to score a ton. They got a good win last week. I think beat Milan. If I'm not might be mistaken. Who knows? No, they didn't. No, Milan played Lazio. Anyway, Torino played, I think, Fiorentina, and got a really good goal from a Russian that no one ever says what country he's from when he scores, or any of them really. Golovin doesn't get it for Monaco either. But Torino got an outside the box goal from Maranchuk, and that was all that she wrote, really. And I think that's my knock on Torino. Their defense has been better this year, but they don't score a lot of goals. So I'm into Empoli at home as a home dog, also under 2.25. Because it's going to take a lot of outside the box goals to be scored here. Empoli doesn't have the offense it did last season. They're trying to get better defensively, and I mean, a clean sheet against Inter, albeit against one fewer man, is still impressive to me. It makes me think that under is worth a look potentially, but also Empoli getting that quarter. Cremonese then hosts Inter. Currently, Cremonese a 1-goal underdog at home. All the juice on Inter, so it might be climbing towards 1.25, as I think it should, and I expect it to. Over under 2.75, and I don't know where Cremonese are going to get goals from. They don't really do a good job of scoring at all, really, but they are hanging around trying to stay in this league. I don't really think they're going to, just because they can't win any matches. I don't think they have any wins yet. They're not as adrift, it seems, as Elche are in La Liga, as we just talked about, but I also have not really had a good history of betting against Inter Milan, unless they're in a really bad run, which they're not. They've been playing well until that Empoli loss, and I probably am just going to let that one go. Losing defender, I think it was Skriniar, I want to say, but they've got a lot of central defenders to replace that. Moving to the nightcap on Saturday, Atalanta hosts Sampdoria. Currently, Atalanta a 1.5-goal favorite. Over under is 2.75. Atalanta are a scary thing to get in the way of right now. I mean, just eviscerating, like disemboweling the Juventus defense. Napoli kind of showed the way, but Atalanta also getting 3 after Napoli's 5, when surely Juve were going to try to come out and be defensive, but they're actually wide open, which I think is just playing into Atalanta's hands. Sampdoria are going to have to defend. They don't really score goals. They've been playing better since the break, but I don't believe in them. So I'm not interested in getting in the way of Atalanta right now, nor do I have an interest in an under or really an over with Sampdoria, who might not contribute. Moving to Sunday, AC Milan hosting Sassuolo. Currently, Milan, a 1.25 goal favorite. Over under is 3. And this is a big number considering how poorly Milan have been playing. I'm definitely jotting down Sassuolo as an interest for me. Trying to do this on the side so I don't have to like waste some time collecting at the end of each country. But Sassuolo have plenty of problems. I'm not going to say that they don't. Seems like they have better crowd support on the road. One of the Serie A commentators saying, I don't want to make it sound like Sassuolo has no fans. But they have no fans. They have a good traveling group that go and follow them on the road, probably because they only need 1,000 of those, whereas at home, 15,000 is really hard to get, or whatever the capacity would be. Anyway, Milan playing terribly, getting blasted 4-0 at Lazio as a favorite on the road. Not great. Unfortunately, not a quarter goal favorite, so I let the pick'em go, which is very disappointing. Thought I was going to get a quarter. It was like, well, if I get it, I'll play it, and I didn't, and then I just should have played the pick'em, but unfortunately, couldn't do it, and easy to say afterwards, of course. It's really nice reading the next day's paper and then betting the day before. But I would love to be against Milan. I don't know that Sassuolo are a good enough team to do that. I feel like if there's ever a time for Milan, who are down in the dumps, to get out of it, it will be against Sassuolo. But if that doesn't happen, then it might be one of those just fade Milan until they start showing some signs of life, because things have not been going well for them. Supercopa didn't go well in Saudi Arabia. Lazio didn't go well after that. There's been a lot of opportunities to respond. They haven't. But this is a get-right game if there's ever been one. Juventus then hosting Monza. Currently, Juve it's also a 2.5 over/under. Juve. I'll just start this again. Juve 1-goal favorite. Over/under is 2.5. This match just happened a few weeks ago in the Coppa Italia, maybe a week ago. I don't know. All the time runs together, but Juve played a really youthful lineup and still won the match. Monza, on the other hand, don't really look like a great defense at this point. They're going to try to score with you and hang around that way. They can do it. They've got a late draw against Inter. It was awesome. But with a late goal, or maybe late 2 goals. But I don't know what to really expect from Juve, especially with all this drama about the 15-point deduction for overstating the player books, accounting fraud, whatever the heck's going on. I imagine that'll get annulled, overturned at some point. But the response to Juve was playing Atalanta and being a really open game. I don't know necessarily if that's going to continue going forward, which makes it really hard to bet this game. But an open Juve is certainly one that, against a worse team like Monza, should score more, but also makes me want to back the underdog, because that's really not how Juve have played all season. There's some rumors about health with Chiesa, Vlahovic, and others returning, and that's a big deal for Juve. They've been pretty hurt for a whole season. There's a lot up in the air. I think lineups will answer a little bit about this, how this match will be played, but we don't have those yet. We won't have them until Sunday morning here in the US. So I'm going to skip on to Lazio Fiorentina. Currently Lazio a quarter goal favorite right now, with all the juice, moving towards half of a goal, not opposite of pick, moving towards half goal favorite. Over under is 2.5. And Fiorentina look like a team that can't score again. I mean, here we are. That seems like be what always happens. Meanwhile, Lazio have defended really well this year, had a little bit of a lull going into the World Cup break, but have come back, smashed Milan. I guess up and down since the break, really, but still don't have Ciro Immobile. Maybe saw him on the bench cheering last match. Maybe he's getting closer to playing, at least showing substituting or something like that. I think Lazio at home are a team that I want to back, not fade, especially the team like Fiorentina, who are not getting a huge price here. I think are overrated based on what the market is saying about this line. It does make me feel like the market's back in Fiorentina a little bit, but I imagine this climbs to half a goal before it kicks off. And I don't really know that I want to go under 2.5. I don't think Fiorentina contribute much to scoring here. They could get one, though, and that makes it hard for Lazio to win. But Lazio's defense, I do want to see if it continues to be as strong as it was in the first half, at least for the most part of the first half. Nightcap on Sunday is Napoli hosting Roma. Currently Napoli a 3/4 goal favorite. Most of the juice on Roma on the road. Over under is 2.5. And Roma's offense has been not the same as it's been in the past, but they've kind of turned back into a Jose Mourinho side where they're not allowing any goals. Big test here come from Napoli. I think to fade Napoli right now at home, considering the shutout streak of Juve that they completely destroyed and scored 5 goals. Certainly after the first 2 go in, things get weird. But I don't know that I could, even with a great defensive streak for Roma, I don't know that I want to get involved until I see a +1 there. And I don't think I can play an under 2.5 when Napoli have been scoring 3 goals every match, it feels like. So some interest in Roma, but I also feel like I kind of want to get it out of the way and just back Napoli, especially when they go into Champions League. The odds are back. Man, wouldn't be an episode of Ben Pitch for that one. And lastly, we'll go to Monday for Udinese hosting Verona. Verona with a huge win. I think it's 2 in a row since the break. They're trying to get out of relegation trouble, which that's how you do it. Udinese, half a goal favorite, over under 2.5. Udinese are a really good team. They're better than Verona. I'm not a believer yet in Verona, and so I will not be getting involved there. I do feel like the under 2.5 is somewhat interesting, but Udinese has been playing a lot more aggressively, and I think that there could be goals in this one. The problem is, where are Verona going to get them? I don't know. I guess I lean to under 2.5, but clearly I'm a little bit all over the place on that one, so I might leave that be. As for my best bet for Italy, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go Empoli under 2.25. They wrote this down as 2 3/4. That is definitely not right. That would then freak me out. Why did this total drop so much later? But yeah, Empoli under 2.25. I feel like Torino as a road favorite is a tough spot for them to be in. I'm sort of backing Empoli as a home dog, but also don't see a lot of goals in this one. So that's what I'll do there. Now I'll move to the Bundesliga, and we have match today with RB Leipzig hosting VfB Stuttgart. VfB with a really tough red card for celebrating, and then like dumb young teams do, and then a late equalizer, which took away a win from them, unfortunately, which they deserved but didn't get. Now they go to Leipzig, probably the toughest road match out there that's not called Bayern München. And Leipzig play so much better at home than they do on the road, so especially tough. Leipzig, a 1.5 goal favorite. Over under is 3.25. Juice to the under. I don't know. Leipzig score better at home. Feels like a lot of goals, but Stuttgart have not been defending really since they let Pellegrino Matarazzo go. So I don't really have an interest in over under, or I guess I lean to a 1.5 goals, but I think it could get really ugly because I think Leipzig have shown that they are a well-oiled machine right now. Moving to Saturday, Mainz hosts Bochum. Currently, Mainz a 3/4 goal favorite. Over under is 2 3/4. I'm tempted to think that Bochum are going to start playing a lot better defense and be more focused on it, because that's going to be their way to stay in the league. They don't have a good enough offense. They've been so bad defensively on the road. But with that said, I don't know that I can back an under there. Mainz, I don't trust to score very much, but maybe at +1, I like Bochum, but it's hard based on their road results this year to really trust that defense. Hertha Berlin then hosts Union. Speaking of teams that are just embarrassing, that'd be Hertha Berlin, a 1/4 goal underdog at home. Over under is 2.25. And this is a big derby. They tend to be a lot more high scoring, despite the two teams not really having much offense. I'm not looking to back Hertha. They've been a disgrace, honestly, and they have a lot of money and have been using it so poorly. And they're really a team I should be betting against, and I'm disappointed I haven't been doing enough of that. Freiburg then hosts Augsburg. Currently, Freiburg a 1 goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 2 3/4. And this is, the Freiburg needs to recover from Wolfsburg campaign. Got blasted two match days ago. Of course, all these teams played a midweek match too, which is brutal, unfortunately for me to catch up with. But so I haven't seen what happened with Freiburg and Eintracht Frankfurt. I'm interested in that one, especially because I took Frankfurt, but have somehow avoided spoilers till now. Augsburg are a team that I need to see and need to know that they're playing well before I really want to back them. They do pull out some rabbits from under the hat, but I just don't really trust them. And going to a place where Freiburg kills teams at home, plus also have killed me. They're a team that I win a lot when I back them, and I lose always when I fade them. So keeping that in mind, and Augsburg are just not a team that I really trust at the moment. Hoffenheim then hosts Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently, Hoffenheim a 1/2 goal favorite, not playing very well. Have been better at home, but ultimately not that much better. Over under is 3. Gladbach, they're one of the tougher teams to trust too. Just like all these teams I want to bet against, and they seem to all be playing each other in the Bundesliga right now. I leaned to half on Gladbach, but ultimately Hoffenheim, they should be a lot better at home. They haven't been so far this year though. So it's hard to say really what to do with that one. And maybe that answer means stay far away or run as quickly as possible the other way. Werder Bremen then hosts Wolfsburg, who've been throttling teams. I mean, big lopsided victories, both against Freiburg and against Hertha. I did watch that one, or I'm in the 90th minute as I pause to sort of do this podcast. Werder, a quarter goal underdog at home, over unders 2 3/4. I don't really expect goals to be scored here, but I think I've learned my lesson not going against Wolfsburg. They were, I mean, an automatic win back them for a lot of the run into the World Cup, and they've picked up exactly where they left off. I feel like they might even be better than they were playing then. Basically, the scorelines say that for sure. And Werder Bremen with an awful defensive performance against Köln, I don't really trust them to score. So I lean, if anything, to under 2 3/4 here. But that's a really tough thing to do right now based on how well the offense is firing. Moving now to Sunday, we have nightcap on Saturday. Bayern München hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. Currently, Bayern München a 1.5 goal favorite, over unders 3 3/4. Gigantic, both numbers really, especially because Eintracht Frankfurt are going to counterattack you. It's going to limit space for Bayern. It's going to put them in good position. Unfortunately, Bayern are used to breaking down low blocks, but 3 3/4 seems really high for a total. I mean, Bayern get those, but also 1.5 seems gigantic on Eintracht as well. This is a blowout the first time they played, but I don't think Frankfurt were playing very well then. They have made some big changes, really not personnel wise or coaching wise, but I mean, finally getting Rano Kolomwani and starting every match, plus what they've done with the building of Lindstrom. And honestly, I feel like they're in a good position to really give Bayern a game. It's tough to do that in Bavaria for sure, but and in that stadium where they seem to score 1,000,000 goals. But I am very interested in it, more interested than I expected before I started to talk about this in Eintracht Frankfurt. It was kind of one of those guilty pleasures when I was reading it before, prepping for the pod. But ultimately, I think I like that 1.5, and I've learned not to take unders as Bayern München, but I'm kind of tempted by that too, because I don't see that many goals here. I do think Eintracht Frankfurt's best plan is to try to restrict Bayern's offense. Schalke then hosts Köln on Sunday. Schalke a 0.5 goal underdog, over under is 2 3/4. I don't believe in the Köln offense. It looked really good against Werder, but we'll see if that actually continues or if that was just a one-day thing. Schalke have no offense to speak of. Their defense has been really tough, and tough in a bad way. Sorry, their defense isn't bad. They're going to have to play tough. They're going to have a huge crowd behind them. They need to react to a really poor performance, really all season, the bottom of the table. Don't see a lot of goals in this one. So under 2 3/4 is interesting to me. Would love 3, but I don't think we're going to get there. And last but not least in the Bundesliga is Bayer Leverkusen hosting Borussia Dortmund. Currently Leverkusen a pick'em with most of the juice right now at home. Over under is 3. And that's saying something considering how Dortmund are usually ranked as the second best team in this league. Wonder if Leipzig are better than them now in the marketplace or something like that. I don't think Leverkusen are, because clearly they're at home and are a pick 'em. But as this trends towards quarter goal favorite, that does make me interested in Dortmund a little bit. Don't think that I'd play Leverkusen as a pick 'em at home anyway. It doesn't look like they'll move to a dog. The Dortmund defense is bad. Leverkusen's defense they're not a team that defends. They just try to attack you the whole time. I do feel like that plays pretty well to Dortmund. So that's why I'm interested if that quarter ends up popping. I don't think it will. And over under 3, I mean, there could be a ton of goals in this matchup. So see what happens there. For my best bet, I'm going to go, it's a little bit safer than Eintracht Frankfurt, unfortunately. I'm going to go with the under 2 3/4 in Schalke and Köln. I just feel like that's the best path of least resistance to profit, and that's what we're trying to do here. Now I'll move to Ligue 1, and then I'll recap the best bets from each of the leagues, and then ultimately come up with an ultimate best bet, hence the term. Still looking to sponsor that, so if you want to, someone slide in the DMs, tell me it, and I'll advertise whatever the heck you want, even if it's inappropriate. I mean, please don't make me do that, but I'll do it, whatever. Friday today, we have Lorient hosting Stade Rennais. Currently, Lorient a 0.5 goal underdog at home. Over unders 2.5. And I like Lorient because they're a really good counterattacking side. I like them more on the road because they get bigger prices, but getting a 0.5 goal at home from Rennes, who unfortunately are missing a lot of key players. Martin Terrier is a huge miss for them. A loss at Marseille last week in the Cup wasn't great, but was competitive. I like under 2.5 here as well, because I just don't think the Rennes offense is as strong as it was last year, unfortunately, because I have a a ticket on them to finish in the European position. It looks okay right now, but I'm certainly not considering it done by any means. Lorient, I think, are one of those teams that have been up the table all year that no one expected. Marketplace is not like them, but they've been wrong this whole time. And Lorient, I think, getting that half of a goal is still very interesting. Now moving to Saturday, we have Estatois hosting Lens. Currently, Troyes, a 3/4 goal underdog at home, over-unders 2.5. I don't want to fade Lens. They're going to go at you the whole time. Troyes' defense has not been great. Lens are going to be on the front foot. They're going to put you in really tough positions, and they're going to press you for 97 minutes, and somehow they have enough energy to do it. It's honestly mystifying to me, but makes me not want to get involved. Marseille then hosts Monaco. Currently, Marseille, a 1/4 goal favorite with most of the juice right now, almost all of it actually. Over-unders 2 3/4. It's a pretty tough price here. I'm very interested to see if Monaco does pop to a half a goal underdog, because they're a really good team. They sometimes play a lot better on the road because they don't really have much crowd support at home. Surprisingly, more things to do in Monaco than go to a football match. Over-unders 2 3/4. I think both these teams can score, which does make the underdog a little bit less attractive, because I honestly want a goalless draw every time I back an underdog, especially on the road. But I think Monaco can play right with Marseille. I don't necessarily think that Marseille that much better. I think I'm going to hold out and hope for a 1/2 on Monaco. And I think they can win this match. That would be very interesting to me. Moving to Sunday, we have Nice and Lille. Currently Nice at home. They're a pick'em with all the juice on Lille on the road. Over-unders 2 1/4. Nice are in transition, again, trying with a new manager. Lille have been playing really well this year, and their recruitment, their development is awesome. And I don't really know that I want to go against them. Though as this climbs to a 1/4 goal underdog, I think Lille as a road favorite seems a little bit pricey, but maybe not that pricey either. Auxerre then hosts Montpellier. Currently Auxerre a pick'em, but with all the juice right now, which is surprising. Montpellier's defense is a joke, but I don't think that Auxerre can really contend with it or stretch it or make it that. I mean, anybody can, I guess, to be fair, but Montpellier still has great offense. Teji Chevanier is one of the best players, played for France in the Olympics. I want to say was on the World Cup roster. Over-unders 2.5 in this one, which is there's pluses and minuses here. As Auxerre, I don't think can score. Montpellier can't really defend. Don't love teams that can't defend in any sport, but I do think that Auxerre's limited goal scoring is going to put them in tough position if they move to a favorite. Stade Brest then hosts Angers. Currently Brest a 1/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice. Over-unders 2.5. Sadly, Angers is not being loved by the market anymore, but I'm not going to back them. I don't think they're good enough. Unfortunately, need more than a 1/4. Lean to under 2.5 in that one, but I don't know necessarily how interested I am. Clermont Foot then hosts Nantes. Currently, Clermont Foot a 1/4 goal favorite. Over-unders 2 1/4. And Clermont has been hated by the market all the time. Nantes kind of hated as well. So I guess it's 2 hated teams. So you got to make one a favorite. I don't know. I expected pick'em here. I think Nantes, with all the juice right now on the road as an underdog, does seem to be pretty standard, or I guess it probably will then fall to a pick'em would be my guess. Don't necessarily want to lose that, as I think Nantes are a good club and they haven't been distracted by multiple competitions, which has been huge for them. So I do like that 1/4 goal on Nantes, as though Clermont Foot has been pretty good to me this season. I think I don't know that they're good enough to give Nantes, who have a great defense, really underrated striking, and a great goalkeeper. That's why they're in the Europa League and why they move through. Strasbourg then hosts Toulouse. Currently Strasbourg a 1/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Toulouse on the road. Over-unders 2 3/4. And Strasbourg, it's amazing how poorly they played considering how well they did last year. But they have bad defense. They don't really score enough goals, despite really having a strong striker, 3-headed attack, essentially, with Ajorc, Gamero, and Diallo. But Toulouse haven't looked great since kind of looked like they were running out of gas a long time ago. They're going to play aggressively, trying to try to score goals. I do like that. I do feel like that's going to put them a little bit too open against Strasbourg, who need as much space as possible to score. But I don't really blame anyone for backing Toulouse here. I think that they can make this really hard on Strasbourg, because why would you trust Strasbourg to score goals? You can't, and their defense is bad. Ajaccio then hosts Lyon. Currently Ajaccio a 3/4 goal underdog on Corsica, I believe, the island. Over-unders 2.5. And Lyon are going to go there and try to score a bunch of goals. Ajaccio, I don't know how well they can contribute to the scoring. I don't think at 3/4 of a goal I could back them here. Market does seem to like them a little bit though, because I expected the number to be higher, but it's not. And then last but not least, we have PSG and Reims. Reims have been a lot better under the new manager. I feel like it's just because they weren't great to start the year and kind of got rid of the old manager too quickly, was my humble opinion. But Oscar Gonzalez, Oscar Garcia is gone, and sad because I'm wondering where he's going to pop up because he's awesome and he made me a lot of money last year. PSG are starting to get lines that are lower than I would expect, like sub 2 to Reims is pretty low, especially considering how much they've dominated the series. But I haven't been following PSG that closely because they just smash everybody and their lines are far above where I want to play. But I do think there's some value going against PSG. They're in the doldrums where not a lot matters for them. They're just really getting ready for Champions League. And unfortunately, when you got to kill your opponent every time, it's hard to really see that happening. So for my best bet in France, I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Football Club Nantes. Nantes getting 1/4 of a goal on the road at Clermont Foot on Sunday. And now's the time. I guess we'll go in for don't have time for 5-star reviews. Please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Would love some more of those to read. Also, Spotify will take those. Anything on YouTube, comments, sort of, if you can subscribe to the channel, leave a comment there. I probably should look that up. But anyway, appreciate that. For this episode of Betting the Pitch episode number 163, for our best bets from the 5 countries we covered, I'm going to say Arsenal plus 3/4 of a goal on the road at Manchester City. We have Elche under 2.25 on the road at Sevilla. Spezia under 2.25 goals. It's a Friday match. You might want to get on that one as quickly as possible. VfL Bochum under 2.75 in what should be a big battle for them on the road. And last but not least, Lorient getting half of a goal at home. Nantes getting 1/4 of a goal on the road at Clermont Foot. And for the ultimate best bet for this podcast, I'm going to go with that Sevilla Elche under 2.25. Tough week for Sevilla. I mean, had a miraculous late win on a penalty at home against Cadiz, but then had Copa del Rey. And I just don't see either of these teams scoring a lot of goals in this matchup. So you have to get 3 to beat me. I think we'll see less than that. So Elche under 2.25 is my best bet for this episode, or ultimate best bet. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Please hit the follow button, _G Warner. I know a lot of people are there for college basketball. That's been good lately. I've had some rough beats this week, but still a very good season going. Hope to avoid those on the football pitch. And of course, love seeing you all. Thanks for all the support. And we'll do this again soon. Hopefully, I guess we'll have probably midweek stuff coming next week. So see you soon, and good luck this weekend. See you later. Smash the follow button, _G Warner.